All right. So are you ready to dive into something kind of cool today?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to be looking at something called the 2-minute closing.
Okay.
Have you heard of this before?
I have heard of this.
Yeah, it's a productivity hack that's supposed to be really simple.
Huh?
You know, like almost like a cheat code.
Right.
And so like, you know those days where you're juggling a million things?
Right, yeah.
And your to-do list is like longer at the end of the day than it was at the beginning?
For sure.
This is supposed to like combat that feeling, you know?
Yeah.
So we're talking about being more efficient, and thankfully this deep dive is going to show us exactly how.
Well, and the source that we're going to be taking a look at today
Okay.
is a newsletter called WYZEGURU.
Okay.
And, you know, they focus on actionable insights for productivity.
Awesome.
And they're saying that even these high-powered, always-on executives are getting excited about this 2-minute closing.
Mm-hmm.
So it really makes you wonder, you know, what kind of magic can be packed into just 120 seconds?
That's crazy. I know.
Right.
It does sound a little too good to be true.
Yeah.
So what is this mystical 2-minute closing?
So basically what it is dedicating the last 2 minutes of every task to reviewing, organizing, and like mentally closing it.
Yeah.
So think of it like, you know,
Like save.
hitting the save button on your brain,
Oh, okay. Got it.
so to speak.
Okay. I'm intrigued, but saving your brain, what does that actually look like in real life?
Okay, so let's say, for example, you're working on a presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Those final 2 minutes could be spent saving the file,
Oh.
making notes for your next steps,
Okay.
and maybe even just jotting down like a quick summary of what you accomplished.
Oh.
So you're just tying up all those loose ends before moving on.
So it's like a mini decluttering session for your brain task by task.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
And imagine you've just finished like assembling a new bookshelf.
Okay.
Instead of leaving all the tools and instructions everywhere, you would use those 2 minutes to, you know, put everything back in its place. Yeah.
Wipe down the surfaces,
Oh.
maybe even do a quick vacuum.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So not only is this physically decluttering your space, but it's also creating a sense of closure in your mind. So you're signaling to your brain that, okay, this particular task is done.
Right.
And now I'm ready to move on.
Yeah. I can already see how that would help prevent things from like piling up, both like physically and mentally.
Yeah, and that's precisely the point. By incorporating these mini rituals of organization into your day, you're preventing tasks from snowballing into like this giant avalanche of overwhelm.
I see.
You know what I mean?
This reminds me of David Allen's getting things done philosophy.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how he emphasizes like capturing next actions
Yeah.
and clearing your mental inbox?
Uh-huh.
This 2-minute closing seems like a micro version of that
Yes.
for like each individual task.
You're spot on.
Okay, cool.
In getting things done, you're encouraged to write down everything that's cluttering your mind so you can just really focus on the task at hand.
Yeah. This 2-minute ritual is like applying that principle on like a smaller scale. You're essentially preventing those little mental to-dos from cluttering up your brain.
So instead of constantly feeling like I'm in the middle of everything,
Right.
I can actually experience a sense of completion
Yeah.
with each task,
Yes.
no matter how big or small.
Absolutely. And that feeling of completion, even if it's just from a 2-minute ritual, can do wonders for like your overall sense of well-being and control.
Okay, I see that.
Okay.
But why does this work?
Okay.
I mean, it sounds great in theory, but what's like the science behind it?
So research has shown that our brains aren't really designed for multitasking. Like every time we switch between tasks,
Okay.
there's a cognitive cost. It causes like a lag in our processing speed,
Okay.
and it just drains our mental energy.
So all this times I'm flitting between emails and messages and projects,
Yeah.
I'm actually making myself less efficient.
It's not about like never switching tasks because...
That's just unrealistic in today's world.
Right, of course.
But it's about being intentional with those transitions.
Okay.
And that's where the 2-minute closing comes in.
Yeah.
By taking those 2 minutes to consciously close out a task, you're giving your brain a chance to like reset and refocus
Okay.
before moving on.
It's like clearing the cache on your computer.
Exactly.
Except we're talking about clearing the cache in our brains.
Exactly.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And just like a computer runs more smoothly with a clean cache, you know, your brain can process information more efficiently when it's not like bogged down by all that mental clutter.
So we've cleared the mental cache. We're feeling more organized. But does this actually translate to like tangible benefits in our workday?
Absolutely. One of the most significant benefits is reducing that feeling of overwhelm.
Okay.
When you consistently apply the 2-minute closing, You're essentially like breaking down your workday into these manageable chunks.
Okay.
Instead of facing like this giant mountain of tasks.
Yeah.
You're tackling like one at a time, closing it out, and then moving on to the next with a fresh perspective.
I see that. It's like those runners who focus on reaching the next lamppost instead of like dwelling on the miles ahead.
That's a great analogy. And just like those runners experience a sense of accomplishment, with each lamppost they pass, you'll feel this surge of motivation each time you close out a task.
So it's not just about being organized.
Right.
It's about feeling more in control and motivated throughout the day.
Precisely. And that sense of control can have a ripple effect on other areas of your life as well. When you're less stressed and overwhelmed, you're more likely to be present and engaged in your interactions with others.
Right.
Make better decisions, and even be more creative.
WYZEGURU actually mentions that this technique can even boost your creativity.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
It might seem a little counterintuitive, but think about it this way.
Okay.
When your mind is cluttered with unfinished tasks and like nagging to-dos, it's difficult to access that free-flowing creative space.
Yeah, that's true.
But when you've taken the time to close out those mental loops, your mind is free to like wander, make new connections, and just come up with innovative ideas.
That's so interesting. I know for me, my best ideas usually come when I'm not actively trying to force them.
Right.
Maybe it's because my brain finally has the space to like breathe and make those unexpected leaps.
Exactly. And the 2-minute closing can help create that mental breathing room.
Okay, so we've talked about reducing overwhelm, boosting motivation, even sparking creativity.
Yeah.
But what about actual productivity?
Okay.
Does this technique actually help you get more done?
Here's the thing. It's not just about doing more. It's about doing things more effectively.
Okay.
The 2-minute closing helps you minimize those little time wasters that can add up throughout the day. Think about all the times you've wasted precious minutes searching for a file, trying to remember where you left off on a project, or simply feeling paralyzed by indecision because you're mentally juggling too many things at once.
Oh, I'm definitely guilty of all of the above,
Right.
especially that feeling of decision fatigue. By the end of the day, my brain feels like it's run a marathon.
And that's what this technique aims to combat.
Okay.
By taking those 2 minutes to organize your thoughts, prepare for your next steps, and clear your mental workspace, you're setting yourself up for a smoother, more efficient workflow.
So it's like each task gets a little bow tied on it.
Yeah,
And you can move on to the next one without feeling like you're dragging baggage from the previous one.
exactly. And when you're not constantly playing catch-up or feeling scattered, you're able to focus more intently on the task at hand, which naturally leads to better quality work and greater productivity.
This is all starting to sound pretty good. Less stress, more motivation, boosting creativity.
And increased productivity. Sign me up.
But the real beauty of this technique is that it's so simple to implement.
Okay.
It's not about overhauling your entire workflow or buying a bunch of fancy productivity tools.
Right.
It's just about incorporating a 2-minute ritual into your existing routine. You know, it's funny, we started this deep dive talking about how even type A personalities are excited about this technique. I think what makes it so appealing is that it's not about adding more to our already packed schedules. It's about making the time we already have more effective.
Absolutely. And that's a message that resonates with anyone who's ever felt overwhelmed by their to-do list, regardless of their personality type.
So are we saying that just 2 minutes at the end of each task can actually lead to a more fulfilling, productive, and even creative workday?
That's precisely what WYZEGURU and research on cognitive function suggest.
Okay.
But of course, the true test is whether it works for you.
Well, which brings us to the question for our listener.
Yes.
Could taking just 2 Leo minutes at the end of each task truly make a difference in your own experience?
The beauty of this is you don't have to take our word for it. You can try it out for yourself and see what happens.
It's like a mini experiment you can run on your own workday. Will those 2 minutes of closing really help you feel less stressed, more in control, and ultimately more productive?
Exactly. And the best part is you get to be the judge. Pay attention to how you feel before and after implementing the 2-minute closing.
Okay.
Do you notice a shift in your mental state?
Yay.
Does it impact your workflow?
Uh-huh.
Does it make a difference in how you approach your tasks?
And even if you don't become a 2-minute closing convert,
Right.
at the very least, you'll have spent a few minutes reflecting on your work habits
Yeah.
and identifying areas where you might be able to improve your efficiency.
Absolutely, because ultimately it's all about finding what works for you and your unique workflow.
Yeah, I love that approach.
Yeah.
Just viewing it as an experiment.
Right.
It takes the pressure off and it makes it fun,
For sure.
you know? Speaking of small tweaks,
Yeah.
that seems to be like the overarching theme
Huh.
of this whole deep dive, you know?
It is.
The power of these tiny little intentional changes.
Yeah, we're not talking about like a massive productivity overhaul, right?
Not at all.
It's just this 2-minute ritual.
That can potentially transform your entire workday.
It's crazy.
I know.
It's like hitting that mental save button
Yes.
at the end of each task.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
Right.
But it really does address so many of the challenges we're all facing. You know, the overwhelm, the mental clutter, just that constant feeling of being pulled in a million directions.
Exactly. And by reclaiming those 2 minutes at the end of each task, you're essentially reclaiming that sense of control over your workday.
Right.
You're signaling to your brain that you're in charge.
Yeah, that you're the boss.
Not the other way around.
I like that. So to wrap things up, it seems like the 2-minute closing technique offers a really powerful framework for boosting productivity, reducing stress, and ultimately creating a more fulfilling work experience.
Absolutely. And it all starts with the simple question, you know?
Okay.
Could taking just 2 minutes at the end of each task truly make a difference in your overall productivity and well-being? That's the challenge we're leaving you with today.
Yes. Trying it out.
Experiment with the 2-minute closing.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah, you might be surprised by the results.
And, you know, even if it doesn't work out perfectly, at least you tried it.
Exactly. And you know more about yourself.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was fun.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.